Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
So when it gets distressing, it's a blessing. Onward and upward you must press. Yes, yes, till up from the ashes, up from the ashes, grow the roses of success.
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday. It is the start of week 2. Fabulous week 2 on the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang build. Say that on the first thing on a Monday morning. I dare you. Got some wonderful help over the weekend, and Elliot, you are without measure, my friend. I will tell you that this once he hit me with the idea that I should be just using my pinstriping masks to go ahead and pinstripe the areas between the wood slats. It was one of those, I could have had a V8. It's like, why didn't I think of that? Well, because it's a lot of work, I'll tell you that. But if it's gonna work, if it's gonna work the way I hope it is, then it's worth it. So we're gonna do that today. We are gonna be putting the over the weekend I have repainted this the color of the lightest wood. Excuse me. I have put a gloss on it so that the vinyl will stick very well. And then we are going to, I've also started this. I wanted to make sure it could be done before I went ahead and continued this route. But then we're going to be painting the darker wood over top of that. And then we'll pull these off and hopefully it will work. And it'll be a happy, a yay, and a good. Was also recommended to do the same thing with the red pinstripes. And I'm afraid I think we're too far down the road on that to pull all that stuff off of the frame and pull those fenders back off. That's not going to be worth it. I think I can get away with just laying down the red pinstripes on the actual fenders. We'll see if that's going to work. If not, we won't have pinstripes on the fenders and the world will continue to turn. Worse things happen at sea, as they say. So I have already started. I'm going to continue with this. You may hear the printer in the background, and that's good news because I have gotten the next set of files for the next Sucker Punch gal, and I am printing those off for a friend of mine today, or I have been started yesterday, and I've got a couple of the platefuls of parts done. I've got a couple more before it's finished, so I'm trying to get a batch of those done by Wednesday, which is our model club day. So, and if I have time, I will pull those out and maybe introduce those to you as the week goes on. I've also started playing around with the red. Now you see I painted over the yellow that I had. I was getting some little paint boogers on here that I didn't like. So I went back to formula, scraped everything down. I mean, why not? Everything else on this kit has been built and painted 5 times. So they were just feeling left out. I also took the time to putty up this ugly seam right here. I've got to scratch build some stuff to go in here. Really just some wire, some brass wire, or real thin. I don't know if I've got any styrene tube that will be the right scale. I might have to actually get some brass wire to put in there, and a couple 3 little stays, framework things that go in here. It's not going to be completely accurate, but it's going to give an idea of what that looks like. So that's on the roll call for pretty soon. But first, let's get back to this. And while I'm doing this, we will muse together. Last week I told you the story of the how I got the model, and like I said, it's some of the details have been lost to time, but that's pretty much how I remember it. Today we'll talk about the movie itself. Now, movies have tropes like anything else. They have well-worn ideas, and this one shares a well-worn idea with The Wizard of Oz in that the main adventure, is it a dream? Is it a story? Did it really happen? Well, I'm in the camp that it's a story. It's something that Caractacus was telling the kids on the picnic. Now, everything leading up to the picnic is real. Everything that happens after the story is over and they're kind of left back on the beach is real. And then the happy ending of them driving off of the beach, and then then Chitty Chitty Bang Bang takes off into the air without the wings, mind you, but it takes off into the air in an ending that was stolen by Grease and used for the ending of the movie of Grease, where Grease Lightning also, for no real reason, decides to fly off into the air. I'm thinking that, yes, okay, it's all the story that Caractacus Potts is telling his children. And then once you realize that, that's a pretty messed up story he's telling his kids. He's telling his kid, now, not that fairy tales can't be scary, but all that stuff with the child snatcher, and the really messed up relationship that Gert Frobe and the king and queen have of Vulgaria have. That's kind of a kinky relationship where she's dressed in rather provocative fashion. There's a whole musical number where they're trying to kill each other. You have to wonder what's going on in old Caractacus's mind when he's making up that part of the story, and what it says about his own self-esteem, that he sees himself as a scarecrow doll. But it does allow you to see some great singing and dancing. I would have, if I were him, probably envisioned himself as the toy maker character, but that's not the hero of the story. What else? I was going to say the story written by Ian Fleming. Yes, I did know it was written by Ian Fleming, but the screenplay was written by Roald Dahl, who also wrote Willy Wonka, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that became Willy Wonka. So you can see a lot of the story similarities there, as far as the candy subplot and the industrial espionage and the spy aspects of that, and the wild inventions that kind of wouldn't look out of place in the candy testing room at the Wonka factory. So lots of similarities there. See, this is going on. I think what I'd like to do is maybe do the top deck and then spray it with the dark brown and see how that's going to work that way, and then mask it off, or mask off the sides, spray this, and then take the masks off and see how that's going to work before I go on to the rest of it. And because I don't want all these little tiny masks to be on here all the time for all over, so I'll do this section by section, and then making sure, that's all in camera. I'm just lining them up and cutting them with the very sharp X-Acto, and then evening them out. Also found when I was test fitting this weekend that the front end is going to take some adapting and some sanding to get that to fit, particularly getting the exhaust pipe to come back and under and fit on the rest of the framework. So the adventure is not going to be done simply because I've got this thing painted. Oh no, there is plenty more fun a-coming. Alrighty, we've got this much of the deck masked. Alrighty, so we've got a darker brown over top of that. This is the original color. This is the new darker color. Just taking a couple minutes to paint some other tiny details, and I couldn't wait any longer. So I went back and looked at, I just took off a couple of the strips to see whether there was enough contrast, and I think there is. I believe I can live with that. So we're going to let this dry a little bit longer, and then we'll come back and we'll remove all of these, and then we'll start on working up the sides. Well, I don't know about you, but I call that a rousing success. I think that's it's done a treat. That's exactly what I wanted. Again, the solution was right in front of my face. Thank you, Elliot. Thanks again. Now to continue the rest of this. Alrighty, I've got the sides and the front done. This went a lot easier than I thought it was going to. There's only a couple stripes that were longer than the length of a single one of these, so I was able to wrap it around. I thought maybe I was going to trim them all here at the back. I guess that would be the stern. Although it's probably the bow of the ship if they turned it around the other. I don't know. But I thought maybe I was going to trim it here on this back edge, but I didn't need to. So I'm going to tape off this bottom wider spot, and then we're getting ready to paint. It's going pretty quick today. Alright, I've got the brown painted over all of those stripes. We'll give this a good chance to dry, and then we'll come back and strip them all down. Okay, you can see I've got the styrene and the brass tubes out again, and that can only mean one thing. I am starting to work on whatever is going to happen in here. Now, it's not going to be accurate. It's only going to be an indication. An abstract painting, if you will. We're going to start with a little bit of this, a little bit of a large tube, smaller tube inside of it. Then we're going to cut this off. We're going to have like something like if I had a pencil. Yes. We're going to have one stay here, one stay there, and then we're going to have smaller wires that are glued down. Let me see, if I took a chunk of this and I wanted that chunk to be, I don't know, maybe that wide. So I put a piece of that there, and I cut another one that is that wide, and then I've got a longer piece of that is, let's see, if I took a piece of this, and I stuck this smaller piece inside it. Well, first I would need to square that off. Okay, say we had a piece like this with another piece inside it, something like that, and we did that on both ends. This has to be much narrower. That's too long. Cut that in about half. So if that half is down here, say something, oh, get over there, something like that, and then this looks something like, go ahead and push that in further. So that can actually go up inside of that there. Something like that. And then we took some of this piano wire and we just glued like one there, and one there. I think that would get us pretty much what I'm looking for. And then paint the whole shebang chrome and just sit it inside there. I think that would be it. I think that's pretty neat. So I just need to find some more of this wire. I think I've got it. I just need to cut the lengths of it, and that'll be a good place to start. But I think what you want to see is something flashy and dramatic, and that's me pulling off the vinyl from the tub here. So let's do that. It all started on this edge and wrapped around, so let's pull it back off from this edge. Now I put some I put a strip here at the bottom just to help delineate that bottom edge, and I'll paint that back in with the brass. Let's see if I can get the tape to work for me here. If I just laid the tape in like that. No, I thought I'd be able to get the tape to come up. No, we're gonna have to go in here digging. See, there's one that came off the whole way around. That's weird. That just shows that they weren't equal, because I thought I was wrapping them. I didn't cross any grains. Okay, that's what I was trying to do. I think this is going to work fine. Start peeling these off. I was wondering if I had made that brown a little dark, but I think it'll be fine. There you go, that's one whole side undone, and that means most of this side is undone, except where I had to piece some of the longer ones together. And then when I got all these little shorties across the front here. Yeah, I think I've got something for the first one, and this will be what I duplicate for the other wing. I think I might need to throw a central, just a central rod in there, but I think once you put it in place, it kind of gives me all the vibes that I wanted to have. I do need to sand this down so that this will sink in a little bit further, but it's easier to build it out here and set it up and then sand it to fit rather than trying to build it in place on the wing. I think that's going to give me the look that I'm going for. Okay, so now I'm looking at all the colors and how they're playing against each other, and I'm feeling that the tub is almost there. I have a feeling that I want to lighten the whole thing, and that just means putting a misting coat over, take the seats out, but a misting coat over all of this that will bring up some of that brown, the dark brown, but will also not be as light as this, so this will remain, but it'll bring up some of that darkest brown. Okay, so I just lightened everything on the tub, and then I looked at it and I realized what was missing, and that is that all of the boards are not the same color on the actual filming vehicle. So I just went in with the card here with this little scrap, and I just lightened a board here or there, and it broke it up some, and I think that gave me the overall effect that I want. Now I still have to paint the brass details in, and that'll bring a lot of that out, but yeah, I think we're good. You know, just a good old fashioned plating, Aztek plating on Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, if you can believe such a thing. I've got the 2 frames done for the wing mechanics. I'm gonna leave them sit, and then I'm gonna see what it is they're missing, but then I'm gonna finish dressing them up and get them in place. I think they need a little bit more greeblies in it, but I think I'm at least 75% of the way there. I may want to add just another couple greeblies in there, but I think we've at least got the idea in mind. Okay, I think this is where we're gonna stop for today. I think we got a gracious amount of work done. I wanted to show what this looks like with the blades up, but I've got superstructures in there, and most importantly, I got this guy done. So very happy with today's progress. Let's go get the rest of the car and kind of piece it all together. And as you can see, we're finally starting to get somewhere. I think that's coming along quite nicely at this point. Yeah, that'll do. Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, and it's going to be a good day. I can feel it in my bones. I am very proud and happy with all of the progress that we made yesterday, and I think we are on a good track to continue that into today. I wish to turn my beady eyes to this now that it's been properly planked, and I want to put the rest of the interior pieces into it today so that I can kind of clean it off and get it off of the table, and then maybe I'll divide my attention. I haven't quite figured it out. I'm really happy with how these cages came out from yesterday. I could finish up the wings. Maybe that'll be the thing to work on today. So let's move this off just for now, just to give myself elbow room to work on the cabin. Okay, we can see I've got a lot of the detail painted in on the tub here. I've got the brass accents, got the seats in. I've got my stupid grubby fingers all over everything. I've got to wash up. I've got to touch up the pedals, but the dash is in, and I need to touch up a couple of these boards that I stuck my grubby fingers on. So let's take care of that quick, and then this will get a gloss coat. So all of the vinyl or the leather seats and all of the high lacquered finish of the boat will pop out, and once it's got a gloss coat on it. Okay, this works, so I'm going to show it. If it didn't work, you were never going to see this. But I went ahead and I put in the pinstriping on the tops. Now everything on the tops has squared off corners. It isn't until you get here that you see the scalloped corners, and I don't think I'm going to try for that. I'm just going to do a straight box shape there, but this is working. This is staying down, and I think I'm going to maybe put a flat or a satin coat over that, see if I can seal them in. Sometimes it is the coat, the clear coat itself is what can make vinyl peel up. It gets underneath it sometimes. So I'm just making sure everything is down real flat, and then we'll see if we need to do that. But yeah, deceptively difficult. I mean, deceptively easy. It looks harder to do than it actually is. So let me put the sides on now. Okay, I've got all the striping down that I'm going to do, and I want to spray them to hold them down, but I want to keep the tires flat. So, not what the flat tires, but the black on the tires I want to keep flat. So I'm masking them off. Now I'll hit this with a satin coat. Good morning, folks. It's Wednesday. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot to do today because, frankly, there's not that much left to do. So I think we're going to see a lot of progress. Now, this morning already I had glued these two pieces together. Took a little bit of filing, a little bit of sanding, but we're good to go on that. This is all got the gloss on it from yesterday still. I have a little bit of detail painting to do on here. And then the other big chunk is this, which have got the stripes on from yesterday, and I've sealed those, and they're staying down, which is a yay and a bueno. We'll take that. That's good to go. And of course, over here I've got a flat coat on the painted wings. Now, the for some reason they don't want to stay clean. I'm continually touching those things up, and of course I got one more coat of red to put on here. But I think the thing to do today, or at least right away, is to finish up these cages here and get them installed, get them painted and installed, and work on the exhaust pipe if I'm not too tired, not too exhausted. It's one of those weird things. The exhaust pipe doesn't really fit in the area that's given, so we've got to glue it on and then kind of sink the whole thing onto the frame at the same time. It doesn't really want to fit. And then here's something else to consider. You've got really hot exhaust pipe here next to wood. Correcticus, you might want to look at that engineering there. You might want to put a little bit of a heat plate there to keep the hot exhaust off of your wooden boat. And that's really it. I've been touching up. Now here's something I have discovered about this model kit. Again, not a lot of instruction, even though you've got the drawings to go by, but not a lot of course, if there were ever decals, they're long gone to history. So I'm not even bemoaning that fact. But it looks to me, that even though it doesn't say so in the instructions, that the wings are meant to be removable. And that's why they're engineered the way they are, so that you can build a car with or without the wings. And I think I said this when I was building the spinner. If you have the option to make your car a flying car, why in God's green earth would you not build it that way? That's what makes it special. It's a flying car, so you're going to build it with all the bells and whistles on. So I think that is why the wings are engineered the way they are, in such a way that you can pop them off and it has minimal impact on the car, because I certainly wouldn't have designed it this way if that was the only way you were going to have the model presented. I would have these flaps, bent up like they're supposed to. It's more evident in how the front and back wings attach, because they are, the way it is right now, they're meant to fit in and around some of the superstructure, and then you more or less lay them in place. But as an example, the front, let's get the spare tire out of there. The front structure here that has the headlights on it, and the crank to start the bloody thing, that's all one piece, but yet the front fin fits over top of that, which basically obscures the license plate and the crank. I believe when you are looking at the actual kit, of course the crank, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody out there can correct me, the cranks were meant to be removable. Like you crank the engine to start it, and then you took the crank out. You didn't leave the crank in all the time. And the crank and the front fin kind of fight each other for place. They don't really fit at the same time. So it's meant to go something like that, which covers the license plate, which means I don't have to spend a lot of time trying to paint the bloody thing, because it's not well molded. And there's a little support here that goes over this bar and kind of holds up the front cow catcher, for lack of a better term. So we're going to make this in flight with all the wings and bells and whistles on it, and then we're going to have to glue down and cover some parts. Example in the back here being the luggage rack where the big picnic basket would sit. Well, I believe in the movie that the back wing comes kind of out underneath the gas tank, and here they have it on top of the gas tank. So again, another compromise to make the wings fit that really wasn't there, and it is a underhook arrangement here. You're supposed to hook it here and lay it flat, so that's a weirdness. And then the propeller, instead of coming out of the back of the tub, just kind of sits on top of the wing, the back wing there. So making all this stuff fit the way the model wants to make it fit, not necessarily how the full-size prop looks. But yeah, you can see all the colorfulness is starting to come into it now that we've got the big wings on it. Here you can see the fin, the front sail, the cow catcher, coming out, and you have the crank on top of it and the license plate on top of it. And of course that crank would never be able to go around. It would chop into the plate, but of course by this point you're in a flying car and you don't really care about the crank, whether it works or not. But there you can see just some of the impossible geometry and how much better the license plate is here based than the not so well made one that's in the kit, with the number or the letters and the numbers being so much smaller, and there doesn't seem to be a raised border around this where the kit part has a raised border. Just all the parts are a lot chunkier in the model than they are here on the actual filming prop. And you know what? I screwed up the pinstripes. I certainly did. I put pinstripes all the way down, and the pinstripes are only on the fenders and they stop on the running boards. Well, that's a screw up that I'm going to live with, I think. I'm not going to try to take those. I really should have looked at that better. I'm just noticing that now, that the pinstripe stops there, and I'm sure it probably stops there, and it doesn't extend on the running boards. Oh well, you live, you learn. Okay, we're down to the tiny detail painting, and unfortunately, when it came to the exhaust, it was one of those deals where you had to break the, sort of like breaking an ankle or re-breaking an arm to set it. I had to break it here to get this to glue in, and that's a much easier joint to make up. So we can put the rest of the exhaust in the place where it's supposed to go, and then just redo that joint right there. Working on the fine detail of the license plates. I've got the bezels in for the headlamps with some crystal clear, and that's going to dry hopefully crystal clear. Got the windshield in. I've cut a new piece of PETG, which is why you see this green on it. It still has the protective plastic on the back, and I'm going to gussy up the frame a little bit. I'm going to hit it with some of the titanium, actually no, I'm going to go over it with the bright brass. It's got a gold underbase right now, and it's a little too yellowish, so I'm going to brass it up a bit. This brass is a weak color on its own, but it goes over other colors nicely, so it's not quite enough for, oh hush you, yes, I am curing 3D printed parts. I was marveling at that just a little bit ago, listening to the printer in the background, dealing with a 55-year-old model, and at the same time I am using 3D printing. It's like all of modeling in one tableau, if you will. But the next step, I think, really is to glue the now any pretense to this being an actual car, I mean a car model even, falls apart when you realize there's nothing that goes from the engine to the rear transaxle. It just like stops there. So we're not gonna give any sort of credence to the fact that this is even a good car model. So you know, things like that. It's sort of like those old models where the wheel just kind of dies into the side. There's no attempt to fill in all the details with accurate parts. This propeller in the back has to go down, and I'm thinking it's going to be easier to put the tail assemblies all together, put the tail feathers in, all of that before I put down the tub. So the tail assembly has to go in, and the brake lights have to go in either side, and then I can kind of place this where it needs to go and get it ready so that when I put this down I can join up that glue joint. Then we can put the front, well, you'll see, all this stuff has yet to be done. We still have a lot of details to take care of. Alright, so we're getting to the point where all of the construction is big steps now, and I've got the rear assembly done. You can see the license plate up underneath there, but I've got the tail lights on, I've got the rear wing on. I'm going to wait till the tub is down before I position the motor, the chopper blade here, the rudder blade, because I don't know exactly how far back that's going to sit, and I want to give it some wiggle room. We're really down to it. The next step is I don't want to put the front end in yet for the same reason. I want to make sure this is seated and proper and fun and happy and yay before I glue down or put in the headlights. So this is the next step. I want to kind of have it tacked in place in such a way that the tailpipe is fixed, but the front end is able to float a bit so that I can make that adjustment as needed. I just need to know how far up that wants to be. So if I set this there, okay, now I know that needs to come up that far. Okay, so take this back off, glue the tailpipe, and don't stick a banana in the tailpipe, but glue the tailpipe down. I'm going to go ahead and put a little mark here that will tell me how far the tailpipe needs to be. So a little spot to glue here. And I think that'll do her. Everything else I can kind of pull. Okay, so that's going to sit like that. Front to back, it's the right distance, and then, like I said, that leaves this movable up here so that I can join it with the other bit. Now, it also, I could glue it where it touches the frame right there. I can put a little spot of CA in there as well. And I know it goes without, no, it doesn't need to be repeated again, but I really don't care for using CA on styrene kits. It has its place on resin kits, but it's messy and it's clumsy, and it's not what I would choose to use on a styrene kit, but you got to. Okay, so that's in. I'm going to put a drop of the kicker over top of that, there and there. That's glued in. Now, the next big step is this, so I need to make sure I'm happy with it first, that there's nothing else I could be doing with this before it gets ready to glue in, because there are quite a few spots where that glue needs to hit. Okay, that's gonna work. I believe that's gonna work. Let me double check. I'm gonna have to lift that into place. Yeah, and then tack it with some CA and hold it down. Okay, so that's gonna work. Let's go ahead and do some, while I can still work on this, I need to do a little bit of touch-up paint. Okay, I've just taken a few minutes here to put a last bit of black pinstriping just on these raised sections on the bonnet. And this bonnet is never going to have the bright mirrored chrome, highly reflective look to it. So I don't think that I'm going to spray that with a clear coat to hold those down, because that's just going to dull it down even more. So we're going to let those sit, and if they come up, well, then they come up, and I peel them off and either stick down new ones or just forget about that. So we're to the point now where we need to go ahead and get this glued down, get the body glued down to the frame. And really all I'm going to do is just start swamping this whole frame and this area up here, because it's tough to tell exactly where it's touching, where the pinch points are. I can guess a few of them, but not all of them. So I'm just going to glue all of that and then just kind of press everything down and set it in here and let it rest. I think that's the only best way to do it. Welcome everybody. It's Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend, and we're at the gateway of being done. Got the back wing on today, so I think it's appropriate to start with the front side today. This has all been nailed down, and that's an important thing. We're going to go ahead and get the front end in. And then we're going to take care of the windshield, which has got some supports that need to keep it in. And then while all of that is drying, I will finish up the wings, and then we'll be able to do the last big attachment is going to be the wings to the body, or the main wings to the body. So let's go ahead and get the crank and headlight assembly. Now the crystal clear has dried overnight, so those look nice and clean. And we are ready to pop this into place. A little touch of glue and we'll be ready to go. I think it's time for another executive decision. The instructions call for this front wing, the cow catcher, to overlap the top, or to clamp onto the top of the license plate there. I don't like that because it hides that wonderful license plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cheat it and glue it underneath the license plate. So it's just something like that. That way I'm also not going to need this little support arm that they include, because they do that to keep it flat. I'm just going to sit this underneath the license plate. And see, here's the, that's the hole for that support. And then it's just going to rest on this. I think that gives a nicer look. I don't like, if you put it up here, then it's covering up the license plate and it's covering up a bunch of other stuff. This, I think, just gives it a cleaner appearance. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, that was a little bit of a maze of clunky parts. And the thing about this kit, and I mean, it's not just this kit, models in general, the detail on them is not that fine. The chunks, the pieces are chunkier than they should be. Struts are thicker, all that kind of stuff. It's understandable, but it does make for a bit of a beefier bit of construction here. Of course, I'm going to have to touch up all of this paint, but got the horn in, and even the horn should be, the head should come up just a tiny bit. I looked at the filming prop, and it's close, but it, you know, like the rest of this kit, it's close but not exact. So the last thing I need to put in before I'm starting to paint and fix and take the green film off of the windshield are these clutch and brake levers, or one of them I guess could be the wing lever. I don't know. Those had to get broken off because, of course, this shaft wasn't the way it was fitting up against the tub wasn't allowing me to push it all the way in, so it was easier just to snap those off, push this in the way it should, and then replace those with actual brass rod, which would not only be more detailed, but also I could bend them a little bit, because I need to put a tiny bit of an angle to bend them out. And they're already brass colored, but they don't have any flash on them, which is the trouble with a lot of these pieces, is that by the time you clean the flash off of both sides, it's approaching what the piece should be to start with. So let me check some references to see what kind of details these need, and we'll fabricate those out of some brass rod. So here we have the reference I was talking about. This, of course, first thing you'll notice is that we're missing this part entirely. I have no idea what that is, but there's no analog for that on the kit. And this is what I am trying to duplicate, and you'll notice they do kind of bend out from the tub a bit, which something that the kit part wouldn't allow you to do. So I can just make those out of some straight brass tubing or rod. I don't know about this added detail of the swing arc here. I may not be able to duplicate that. And there's those cursed vents that aren't on the kit, and all of this filigree detail on the bonnet that I won't be able to duplicate, not at this scale. And that's a shame, because I'm not going to be able to get the highlighted chrome polished reflectiveness of the bonnet. That's a shame. I'm settling for the chrome that I've got, but it's even the kit chrome wasn't highly polished like that. But sometimes that's the curse of having wonderful reference photos like this, is because you realize that you're never going to be able to duplicate the detail the way you want to. All those details that you see that aren't going to be there on the final kit. But yeah, let's get those gear levers or controls put on the car. Okay, kids, we're down to just a couple of things left. What there's left to do is put the propeller shafts on the wings here, and then join the wings to the main body. Now, I've gone around and touched some of the brass detailing, taken the green protective film off of the windshield. This is ready to go into here, but that will be the last big step. I've got these frameworks installed, painted, touched up, all of that stuff. There's still a little bit of red I could touch up around the edges there. That's going to be a never-ending story. But let's go ahead and put the propeller shafts in, and then we'll be able to walk away from this for a while. Morning, kids. It's Friday. It's the last work day of the week. It's the last day on the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and we will all take a moment in silence to mourn the finishing of this kit. Well, as it happens, when I finish up early, which I characterize this as finishing up earlier. There are some model builds where I am scrambling at 5:30 on a Friday night to get the last decal down and something, things like that. But I'm basically done. All I got to do is glue the wings under the carriage of the rest of the car, and it's done. And it's not going to be put on any fancy base, so I don't need to worry about making a base. But when I was doing the research yesterday for rebuilding the brake levers and these big levers here, I was struck by that big brassy looking thing that went right about there. It looked like a cylinder of some sort. And I thought, I've got time to scratch build something like that. I could see maybe why they did that, to kind of balance the aesthetic of having the muffler on that side. Of course, who knows? It could have actually served a purpose on the actual driving car. So what I've done this morning is I've just taken a piece of styrene tube, and filled up, blocked off both ends. The hard part was in figuring this cutout. There's a little cutout there so that it actually will fit on the car in that weird angle, something like Let me get it around the other way. I had the silly thing in reverse. It actually fits in something like that. So I'm going to put a coat of the brown or the gold on it to bring out that brass a little bit. But I'm just going to glue that in, and we're going to call it done, because I think that gives a nice little finishing touch just to that side. Just to that side there, and then we'll glue the wings down, or glue it to the main wings, and it'll be done. And you may not have noticed this yesterday on the big wings, but the propellers do turn. So there's my action figure part of the deal. It actually will catch a breeze and blow the big blades around. All right, while the bronze on that tank dries, I am just going in and touching some details and playing with some finishes. And it's important that the wood on the boat part of the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang has that high gloss marine varnish look to it. I didn't want even though the seats are shiny leather / vinyl, I didn't want them to be as glossy, so I've just coated those with a satin clear finish, and I'm letting that dry. We've got flat finishes on the sails. What I'm calling all these sails, the wings, the front catcher, the back wing, that's all flat. We've got some metallic sheens. We've got the semi-gloss on the fenders. We've got the chrome finishes. We've got the brass finishes. We've got a high gloss on the wheels and hubcaps, but a flat finish on the rubber tires themselves. And we've got the flat finish on the carpeting on the inside of the cab. I just wanted to make sure that everything wasn't the same, high gloss toy looking thing. So that's what I'm doing now, and this is coming along nicely. I spritzed a coat of gold leaf over it just to bring out the yellowness of that a little bit more. We're going to let this dry for just a tiny bit longer, and then we're going to glue it in place right under there. I might weather that a little bit since it is down in the running board area. It might have a little bit of a rust wash on it. I did rust up a little bit on the see if I can show you this without disrupting too much. Maybe not. I sprayed a little bit on the oil pan there under the engine just to age that up a bit. It wouldn't be natural that would be clean and chrome forever. So that's where we're going to be, and we're going to let this dry. It's mail call. It's mail call on Friday, and that's something I've been waiting for. But I'm also documenting this because it is fragile, and I want to make sure that if there is anything wrong with it, that I am unboxing it on television, so to speak, so that we can document its condition. I have gotten into collecting life-size props lately, and this is something that a gentleman in Canada was having for sale. Oh, it's packed very nicely, and I wanted to get one of them because I thought it was neat to have for a while now, and he was divesting himself in some of his collectibles, and it's not actually something that's, a specialty. It's something that was made out of something else, to tell you the truth, and you may be able to tell by the shape of what I am taking out, but it was, let me see if I can, look at that, perfect. It is, oh, it's in good shape too, lovely. It is a Dickel bottle. Now I'm reaching up in here because I believe the stopper is up here as well. Yeah, the cork is still in here. This is also going to give me a nice bit of bubble wrap, which is, can't have too much of. But this is a Dickel bottle, and the discerning folks out there will recognize it as also a Saurian brandy bottle. See, it goes like that, and it's a Saurian brandy bottle, and I will take the Dickel stickers off of it, obviously, and dress this up. But now I can, go staggering around the decks of my starship, holding the remains of a Dickel bottle. Oh, I see. So it looks like I might have jerked it out and actually broken that there. So I'm going to retie this onto the handle here. That was my own mistake. That wasn't anything that was sent that way. So I'm sure I can get another length of this cord and retie that. That was me being too overly eager and yanking it out of the because you want to be able to tie this and have it be attached to the oh yes, I know, I'm trying to tie a knot here. I'll see that it's just breaking again, so it's just how worn out that is. So we'll put a new strap on there, and next thing you know, it will be just fine. Yeah, take that one off and just replace that. But there you go. It is a Dickel bottle that is actually 1/4 of a gallon of from Dickel, Tennessee. Of and let's see, this has got the special bottling for somebody, George Dickel whiskey, 90 proof. Yikes! But it's yeah, standard bottle available at your favorite package store. But this is the souvenir bottle. But now it arrived safely, and that's all I need to show. There, now the brass canister is in, and I think it just adds that little bit extra touch there. I think it looks so much better. Okay, last big thing to do. Nothing left but to go ahead and glue the wings on here, and checking the contact points to see where the glue best needs to go. And it's down in those trenches, and it's not really across the bottom like you'd think, except for just on these. Actually, I could probably get away with just putting 4 dollops in those 4 corners here and get away with it that way. We're down to the bottom of my CA bottle, and I think we put 4 big splooges right there. That's all we're gonna need. So let's go ahead and get this pushed up, mounted. Yeah. All looks good. Let's just turn this upside down for a hot minute here. See if we're touching like I think we are. Yeah, we're touching like I think we are. So let's see, what I need to do is find something, and I can probably turn over one of these barrels here. Just sit this on, and we'll let that dry, and we'll be almost done. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the finished Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Now, I wish I had some sort of light blue cloud material that I could sit this on instead of this black bed of felt, but we work with what we have. I can do this as much, though. I can make the propellers go wiggy wiggy. But here we go. This is the finished Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Now I did put the satin finish has dulled the leather upholstery down a bit, which is nice. We still have the high gloss on the wooden planking now. Here, let me so you can get a good gander at that. See what the planks look like. Here's the new tank I just put on this morning. And yes, I hope you'll forgive me for screwing up the red pinstriping, but you know, I did what I did. I think this detail adds a lot to the kit. Obviously, that's why I bothered to do it, but I think it just dresses that up nicely. Not overly elaborate, no big deal, but something that makes it stand out from maybe some other builds of a similar size. So we can zoom in on the dashboard there. I used a little bit of the Molotov just on the mirror there. It was good enough for that. I have just glimpsingly, went straight through my head and out the other side about putting Molotov on here, because anything bigger than a spot like that, I just can't get it to go on evenly enough. And Lord knows I'm not going to try to spray it again, because that way lies danger. But by just brushing on a tiny bit, I was able to make the mirror at least work. And that, dear friends, is going to bring the end of this Chitty Chitty Bang Bang build. A fun build, a challenging build, a build that taught me not to take something for granted. A challenging build in the fact that it's so old, and that maybe not the best engineered to start with. Maybe we'll do let's do the zoom by. But I think certainly a model worthy of going in the collection of iconic vehicles. I would really like to see somebody take a modern day crack at this with the engineering and the design skills that are available today. I think we could do something that would really be a showstopper. But then again, you're working with a 50-plus-year-old movie, so the market for something like that, until there's a inevitable remake of it, I doubt there'd be much of a market for it. So until next week, when we'll be doing something completely different. I have no idea at this point. I honestly don't know what we're going to do, whether it's going to be a monster, whether it's going to be a figure, whether it's going to be another vehicle. I don't know. I have several contenders, but I haven't decided. So until next week, when we'll find out together, y'all be good to each other, be safe, be smart, get outside, the weather's beautiful, and enjoy the waning days of summer, and we will be back here, right here, next time.
And fare thee well, and bon voyage, arrivederci too.